In 1979, my dad opened a sign business in Savannah, Georgia, and one of the early investments they made was in a 24-inch Gerber plotter. Now that was a pretty significant investment back in the 80s, and even by 99 when I bought my first 48-inch rolling plotter, they were still pretty pricey. This machine I picked up from one of my dad's neighbors who had gotten it in a package deal with a Cricut plotter. And she said this thing just took up too much room, so for about $100 I picked up this machine and it sat in storage for a couple of years, and this is the first project I've attempted with it since I brought it home. I thought I'd take you along for the ride. The program that I'm using here is Adobe Illustrator. I bought a plugin for it called XF Cut Pro that works as an interface between Illustrator and my Viver KI870 plotter. This machine will handle a 34-inch roll of vinyl, but I was uncertain that everything would work properly, so I only bought a 12-inch roll of material. This 3M Scotch-Lite reflective vinyl is pretty expensive, so I didn't want to take any chances. So our ink pen. We are going to replace that with a cutting blade. Let's see if that cut through our material. I bought a fancy purple knife off of Amazon. Oh, look at that. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Alright. Move our material back. Reset our origin. And I think we're ready to try a cut here. I'm going to reset this on my computer because my origin has been off on me. And I want to make sure that this cuts where I think it's going to cut. So, set our origin there and we'll take it to the computer. Okay, so this is what we're attempting to cut. Trying to get the orientation right on this. Because every time I think I know where this thing's going to cut, it cuts somewhere different. This graphic is set on an 11 by 17. My vinyl is 12 inches wide. My hope is that I'm not going to wind up wasting it. 12. And of course, the distance is indefinite. So let's see what happens. I'm going to try cut direct. So that is cutting to the bottom of the page. It's cutting where I thought it would. It's still not necessarily set up with the orientation of the page. But I think I can figure it out from here. I'll try to cut the next one with the orientation at the top, because we're doing a mailbox, so the mailbox will need to be done on both sides. Should be interesting. Normally, when you do this, you want to cut a box around your graphic. You also want to try to use as little material as possible. Because I haven't done this in a while, I forgot to put the box around the graphic. And I also used a lot more material than I anticipated. So this is going to be a rather expensive decal. Generally, I will try to use a smaller roll of transfer tape as well, but this is the only roll I own right now. And stuff you buy in the hobby shops is garbage. A little wrinkly there. I'm out of practice for sure. It's not going to hurt our end product, I don't think. Alright, I said normally this would be the end of this, but one of these is running uphill, so I'm going to have to figure out where a straight line is on this. This is how far off my vinyl was from one to the other. When we rolled this piece out, it caught the edge of the plotter and twisted the whole thing, so I measured 1.5 inches from my O's on either line. You can see this one runs up slightly, this one runs up a lot. So this will be the line that we use to line up our graphic on our mailbox. It is very cold outside today. I'm figuring I'd do this on the inside. Eventually I'll buy a product called Spray Tack, which keeps your decal from sticking before it's supposed to. I think this one's probably small enough I can do it by hand. Let's hope that I can. A whole lot of extra problems. That was close. Shade's going to be a little covered. Very pretty. Pretty happy with that. I know that my arm is going to cover the J a little bit, but I don't think you can beat that. You see that in the picture? Oh yeah. Pretty mailbox. Oh, it's so pretty. That's pretty good. It's pretty good for our first attempt at there we go, in-house sign making. I'm happy with that. I'm gonna put my door on the other side of the box. A little, just a tad further back, but not much. So yeah, I'm good with that. Let's get our little store-bought numbers and put on there. Alright, these are some generic numbers that I bought before I had a plotter. And unfortunately I have used them on 3 or 2 other mailboxes on this row. So when I'm done I'll have 3 mailboxes out here, and kind of weird about things matching. So I'm going to use these same numbers that I used on my other boxes. The object here is just to space them out evenly and have them roughly centered. So I have 5.5 inches, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spaces. So go 1 inch and 1/8. That's right, 1 inch and 1/8. This is very cheap vinyl. It is a lot thinner than the Scotch-Lite we put on the top. You can probably tell by when I pulled that 3 off of there how it came apart in pieces. Scotch-Lite would not do that. It would rip, but it wouldn't come apart in pieces. Alright, well that's not perfect. And my dad would probably be proud of the fact that I didn't rip all the numbers off and try again, but $39.95, $39.95. Alright. Next we'll do our other mailbox. I was talking to you before about saving space, and this is typically what you want to do when you're cutting vinyl graphics. You want to try to reserve as much of the material as you possibly can. And what we're going to do is we're going to put a box around elect media, and we're going to kill the fill. Put the stroke black at 1 point. The reason that I'm doing this, getting rid of these cut marks, it won't have an effect that you'll be able to see when we cut the vinyl. But later on, as the heat gets to the vinyl and the vinyl starts to shrink a little bit, these cut marks that are in my Johnson logo on the other mailbox will start to become more obvious. With this, these will be one solid piece, which will keep that from happening. As you journey with me on my adventure back into sign making, you will see me remember little things that I'm supposed to do. Things from my childhood. And yes, I had a rather odd childhood. Thanks, Dad. Alright, I'll come back to this when we're cutting. We did the other one at the top. And this one to the Q. And that puts it up
There, that's not what I want. Let's try that. Let's see what happens. I think the next thing we'll work on is speed. Let's see how that turned out. Oh, yeah. Thing was at an angle again. I didn't even notice. Alright. We'll get better as we go. It was a couple of days before I got outside to take down my ugly mailbox. Been painted a couple of times and had the former owner's name on it. I'd also hit it with my truck, so had to reinforce it a little bit. But this is how we built our pretty mailboxes on Horton Ford Road. You can see that the cheap vinyl letters that we had put on sometime back when the first mailbox went up had already started to deteriorate. So I scraped my O's down and got the bubbles out of them, put a couple of decals on top of them to make them look pretty again, and we got our company logo on one side and the nonprofit's name on the other side, and That will be the permanent home for Covenant Concepts and Elect Media. We appreciate you watching. Click that subscribe button and stay tuned for more content.